The sandstorm had just settled. The sky above the alien auction yard was dark and smoky, filled with red banners flapping in the hot wind. Cages lined the market square. Chains rattled. Buyers shouted. Credits flashed in the air. And then it was over. Every cage was empty, except one at the very end of the row, almost hidden behind a broken metal post. A small cage still sat in silence. Inside it, a young alien girl curled up like a shadow. She didn't speak. She didn't cry. She had learned long ago that no one came for her. The auctioneer cleared his throat. This one is still available. Young, healthy. Maybe. No one moved. She's defective, someone muttered in the crowd. She doesn't speak. Probably broken. Or cursed, another alien spat. Leftover junk. The girl didn't look up. Her silver-gray skin was covered in dust, her long hair tangled. Her eyes, once bright, were dull like old glass. She had watched hundreds sold before her, families taken, children dragged away. Screams and tears. Now, there was only silence. The auctioneer wiped sweat from his forehead. Last offer before she's sent to the mines. Still no one came forward, until a quiet voice spoke from the back of the crowd. I'll take her. The voice was human. Heads turned. Even the auctioneer blinked in surprise. A tall man in a long coat stepped forward. His face was half covered by shadows. His boots were worn from walking far distances. And on his belt, he wore no weapons, just a small pouch of credits. He didn't look rich. He didn't look dangerous. He just looked calm. You want her? The auctioneer asked, confused. There are better slaves, stronger ones. Trained ones. I said I'll take her, the human repeated. Name your price. The auctioneer hesitated, then quickly named a low number. He didn't want to argue over a slave no one wanted. The human paid. No negotiation. No inspection. Then he walked to the cage. The girl didn't move as he opened the rusty door. She expected pain. A slap, a command. Maybe worse. But instead, he crouched down to her level and said gently, You can come out now. She looked at him for the first time. His eyes were not cruel, not hungry, not cold. They were tired, but kind. Are you going to hurt me? She asked, her voice barely a whisper. No, he replied. Are you going to sell me again? No. Then, what do you want? The man thought for a moment, then said, To give you a chance. The girl stared at him like he was speaking another language. No one had ever said that to her. She slowly crawled forward. Her legs were weak. Her hands shook. As she stepped out of the cage, the sunlight hit her face, and she winced. It had been so long since she had felt real light. The crowd stared. Some laughed. Others shook their heads. She won't survive the week, someone muttered. He's wasting his money. The human didn't care. He wrapped a long cloth around her shoulders like a cloak and guided her away from the auction yard. As they walked, the girl whispered, Do I belong to you now? He stopped walking, looked at her carefully. No, he said. You don't belong to one. She blinked. Her throat tightened. But I don't know how to be free. That's okay, he replied. I'll teach you. She looked down at her feet, then back at the cages growing smaller in the distance. Why me? She asked. Why did you choose me? The human was quiet for a moment, then said, Because you were the only one no one else saw. The girl's eyes burned, not from the sun but from something else. Something rising in her chest she hadn't felt in years. Hope. They kept walking. Behind them, the auction yard went silent again. Another day. Another trade, but this time, one cage didn't stay full, because someone had whispered, I'll take her. And this time, it meant freedom. Asterisk. The sun was hot on her face. It was the first time she had walked outside her cage without chains on her ankles, but she didn't feel free. Every step felt like a mistake. Every breath felt like she was doing something wrong. She kept glancing back, waiting for someone to shout, to grab her, to drag her back, but no one came. Beside her, the human walked silently. Not pulling her, not ordering her, just walking. She looked up at him, unsure. "Where are you taking me?" "Away from the cages," he replied. "Someplace quiet. You need food, rest." Her stomach growled. She hadn't eaten in 2 days. But she hesitated. "Do I have to earn it?" she asked softly. "Do you want me to do something for it?" The human stopped walking. He looked at her, not with anger, not with disgust, but sadness. "You don't owe me anything," he said. "Not your body, not your silence. Just let yourself breathe." She didn't understand that no one ever gave something for nothing. As they reached a small, broken shelter on the edge of the rocks, he handed her a meal pack, still warm. Real food, not moldy scraps or old ration bars. She stared at it, then at him. "Eat," he said gently. She bit into the food. Her hands trembled. Her eyes watered. It was too much, too real, too strange. Tears fell without warning. He didn't ask why. He just turned away to give her space. That night, she curled up in the corner of the shelter. The stars above were bright. She'd never seen the sky so wide. The human laid his coat over her without saying a word. Then he sat nearby, eyes scanning the dark. He didn't sleep. She whispered, "You're guarding me?" "I'm used to keeping watch," he replied. "Old habit. But I'm not important." He glanced at her. "You are now." Her chest ached. No one had ever called her important. In the morning, she tried to stand tall, but her legs shook. She wasn't used to walking without orders. He offered his hand. She flinched at first. Then slowly took it. They walked again. She asked him questions in whispers. "What's your name?" "Most call me Soul." "Why did you come to the auction yard?" "I wasn't planning to stop. I just saw something in your eyes. You looked like you'd already said goodbye to life." She didn't know what to say. She didn't even know what to feel. Later, when they stopped to rest near a cliff overlooking the desert, she spoke again. "I used to dream of being taken," she said. "Not to serve but to escape." She looked at her hands. "But now I don't know what to do. I don't know how to be." Soul sat beside her. "You learn," he said, "day by day. What if I mess up? Then I'll be there. What if I can't be what you expect?" "I don't expect anything," he replied, "except that you start believing you deserve to exist." She went quiet, then asked the hardest question. "Why didn't you use me like the others would?" Soul didn't answer for a long time. Finally he said, "Because I remember what it felt like to be caged too." She looked at him in shock. "You?" "Different kind of cage," he said. "But still, I know how hard it is to believe you matter after being treated like nothing." She swallowed hard. For the first time she believed he meant it. As the sun set, she didn't ask for a blanket. She sat close to him on her own. She didn't say, "Thank you." Not yet, but she looked up at the stars and didn't feel so small anymore, because someone had freed her cage, but more than that, he was helping her unlock the one inside her mind. The wind had changed. It blew through the desert camps with a strange message, one that traveled faster than sound. It wasn't shouted from towers or broadcast through systems. No, it moved from mouth to mouth, whispered in corners, passed like a secret between broken voices. She was the one left behind. But he chose her, not for work, not for play, they say. He gave her a name. The girl didn't know people were talking about her. She still walked with her head down, still flinched at sudden movements, still waited for commands that never came. But every day, something inside her shifted softly, slowly. She had a place to sleep now. She had food, warm, clean, and enough. And Soul never touched her without permission. That confused the others the most. In the slave refugee camps nearby, Girls who had escaped whispered her name in secret, because they didn't remember theirs anymore, but they remembered her. The one who didn't get sold, but still got saved. Some were angry. Why her? What's so special? Others just sighed. Maybe she's not lucky. Maybe he's just different. One evening, while Sol worked on his ship's broken nav core, the girl sat beside a campfire in silence. A group of young alien children watched her from behind a crate. She turned her head slowly, and they ran away giggling. She blinked. No one had ever giggled near her before. The next day, a strange thing happened. One of the escaped slaves, a tall insectoid girl named Cora, approached her. "You're the one," Cora said. "From the last cage." The girl nodded, unsure. "They say he gave you your name back." "I don't have one," she replied. Cora tilted her head. "But he treats you like you do." That night, the girl sat quietly with Sol as the stars lit up the black sky. "Why haven't you asked for my name?" she asked suddenly. He looked at her. "Because I figured one day you'd tell me the one you want to be called," she frowned. "What if I don't have one? Then we'll make one together." She didn't answer, but something inside her felt warm. In the following days, other girls began to come to her. They didn't ask for food or safety. They asked, "What did he say to you when he opened your cage?" She told them, "He said I didn't belong to anyone." The others stared, their eyes wide. "No one's ever said that to us." The girl smiled. A real small smile. "Then maybe we should say it to ourselves now." That evening, as the desert wind cooled, Sol noticed something strange. The girl once silent, once hiding, was now standing by the fire, surrounded by 3 others. They weren't whispering. They were laughing. Not loud, but enough he didn't interrupt. He just watched from the shadows, something soft in his eyes. When the girl saw him, she walked over slowly. "They were afraid to sleep," she said. "So I stayed with them." "You're safe here," Sol replied. "I know. But they don't." She hesitated, then added, "I used to think I was invisible. Now they're listening to me." He nodded. "Sometimes it takes just one voice to remind others they're not forgotten." She looked at him, then said, "They're calling me Hope, I think. I like that." Sol smiled. "Then it's yours." And in that moment, the girl wasn't just the last cage left behind. She was the first to step forward, and others were finally following her light. The desert wind carried whispers not just of freedom, but of her. The girl once thought forgotten had become a quiet fire among the ashes. Those who had lost everything sat near her to feel warm again. They didn't ask who she was. They only cared how she made them feel safe, but she didn't understand why they followed her. Not yet. One night, as she and Sol prepared to move to another settlement, she felt something strange deep in her neck. A small burning sensation, like a spark under her skin. She touched the spot. It pulsed. "Something's wrong," she said. Sol turned to her, alert. "Where?" She pulled back her collar. There, on the side of her neck, something glowed beneath the skin. A symbol, faint and silver, pulsing like it was waking up. Sol's face changed. He gently placed a scanner near it. It beeped, then blinked, then flashed red. He looked at her, stunned. "This ... This isn't just a mark. What is it?" "It's a crest. A bloodline tag. You're not just from any race. You're from a sealed royal house." She stared at him. "I'm what?" "Royal," he whispered. "High tier, ancient, hidden. Someone tried to erase your identity, but this code it survived. They buried it, but they couldn't destroy it." Her hands shook. "I was told I was garbage." Sol stood still. "They lied." The scanner's results were clear. Her DNA matched records lost in the Great Collapse. Her bloodline once ruled 5 sectors before a rebellion. Legends said the royal children were hunted down and vanished. She had been hidden in plain sight. Sold like junk. Caged like nothing. But in truth, she was Galactic inheritance. In the following days, everything felt different. People looked at her with new eyes. Some bowed. Others whispered titles in languages she didn't understand. She hated it. I'm still me, she told Soul. I know, he said. Then why are they acting like I became someone else? Because they were raised to believe blood matters more than heart. She looked at him. What do you believe? He smiled gently. I believed in you before the scanner did. One morning, an old alien elder approached her. Wrinkled, blind in one eye, his hands shook as he reached out. You carry the mark of Starfire House, he said. My people once served your family. We thought all of you were dead. I didn't even know I was one of them, she replied. But your spirit knew, he said. That's why the others followed you before they saw your crest. True royalty leads with compassion. She didn't know what to say. Later, she sat alone on a high rock, watching the desert stretch for miles. Soul joined her. Heavy crown? I don't want a crown, she whispered. I just want a matter. You already do. But what now? I'm someone others will hunt. Someone they'll want to control again. Soul nodded. Then we stay smart, and we stay mobile. Until you decide who you want to become, she looked at him. You mean I still get to choose? Of course, he said. Royalty isn't about blood. It's about what you do with your freedom. She breathed in deeply. Then said, Then let's not run. He looked at her, surprised. We won't? No, she said. Let's walk toward what's coming. Because for the first time, she wasn't just surviving. She was becoming. The stars were no longer quiet. Somewhere beyond the sandstorms and broken satellites, someone was listening, watching, waiting. And then they moved. Not to buy her, not to ask. But to take her. It started with a sound, a low hum in the wind. The kind only old soldiers could hear. Soul heard it first. He looked up from repairing the hoverpad, his eyes narrowing. That's not wind. The girl now known as Hope paused. Her hands were full of dried roots. She was preparing for the others. In the camp, what is it? She asked. He stood slowly. Engines, 3 of them. Small hunters, fast ones. Her heart dropped. She already knew. They found me. Minutes later, dust clouds appeared on the horizon. 3 black shapes tore through the sand, engines howling, moving like beasts who had caught a scent. They weren't traitors. They weren't rebels. They were retrievers, slavers who worked for powerful buyers. Once they locked onto a crest signature, especially a royal one, they didn't stop until it was in chains. Soul moved fast. He threw her a small pack. Only what you need, nothing more. She didn't argue. She just asked, Are we running? No, he said, loading a long-barrel weapon onto his back. We're stalling. She stared at him. Why? So you can decide your next step. The camp was silent. Children were hidden. Fires were put out. Everyone knew what black ships meant. Hope stood beside a rusted crawler, her cloak flapping in the wind. They'll kill you. Soul didn't answer. Just checked his weapon. I don't want to be the reason someone else suffers, she said, voice cracking. He turned to her. You're not the reason. They are. She looked away. They'll say you kidnapped me. I didn't. They won't care. Soul walked to her, placed his hand gently on her shoulder. I do. The ships landed with a roar. 3 armored beings stepped out covered in dark chrome, faces hidden behind breath masks. One of them stepped forward and held up a badge with blinking red lights. You are harboring marked royalty, he said. Coldly, turn her over. Now Soul stood firm. She's not a possession. She's under interstellar retrieval law. Code 17-9. No trial. No choice. Hope stepped forward. What if I say no? The lead retriever tilted his head. Then you'll be taken. She stood taller. Not without a fight. The retrievers laughed. You think he'll stop us? Soul raised his weapon slowly. I'm not alone. The camp lit up. Dozens of former slaves, alien, human, hybrid, stood behind them, holding tools, farming blades, and stolen rifles. Faces that once knew only fear now burned with purpose. "She freed us," someone shouted. "We stand with her." The battle was fast and messy. The retrievers had tech. Shields, drones, but Soul had tactics. And the people had heart. Hope helped lead the children away from the blasts. She threw smoke bombs. She shielded a wounded fighter with her own body, and Saul fought like he had done it 100 times. Because he had. When the last retriever fell, their ship was smoking. Hope stood in the middle of the dust, bruised, exhausted, but standing. Soul limped over, blood on his sleeve. "You okay?" he asked. She nodded. "You? Not bad, for an old ghost." She chuckled, then cried, not from pain, from relief. That night, the camp was quiet again. Hope sat near the fire, holding a child in her arms. The girl's small hand wrapped around her sleeve. Soul joined her, sitting slowly. "They'll send more," she said. "I know, maybe stronger." "I hope so," he said, smiling slightly. "We're getting better at this." She looked at him and finally said the words she had feared for so long. "I don't want to run anymore." He nodded. "Then we build something they can't take away." Because what started as a rescue was turning into a rebellion. The night came with silence, but no peace. After the battle, the fires in the camp burned low, and people whispered of what would come next. Hope sat awake, arms wrapped around her knees. Her back ached, her shoulder was bruised. But her mind was louder than the pain. "They'll come again," she said softly. Soul, sitting nearby, kept polishing his weapon. "Yes, and they'll bring more than 3. She looked at him. "We should leave, run before they do worse." He shook his head. "No, you're not running again. Not while I'm breathing." At dawn, the scanners picked up signals. Not 3. This time, 5 ships. Heavy class. Military spec. Soul didn't blink. "They're serious now." Hope's voice trembled. "You don't have to stay. I'm the one they want." He stood slowly. "Then they'll have to go through me." The camp was quiet, but it wasn't broken. People who had once been slaves now stood tall. They helped dig trenches, place tripwires, fortify walls made of scrap and steel. Soul moved among them, giving orders like an old commander. Calm, focused. Hope followed him. "I never asked you," she said. "Why do you fight so hard for me?" He didn't stop walking. "Because you remind me what it means to feel alive." She blinked. "Me? I spent years doing nothing but surviving," he said. "But the day I opened your cage, something woke up in me." The ships came before midday, 5 giants hovering like monsters in the sky. They dropped pods of armed soldiers, retrievers in black and red armor, carrying shock sticks and stun rifles. They thought it would be easy. Send single quotes. Soul was the first to fire. His shot hit a pod before it landed, exploding at mid-air. The camp burst into chaos, but this time it wasn't fear. It was fury. Hope led the young ones to safety tunnels. Then, against Saul's wishes, she picked up a discarded shock rifle and returned to the front line. She fought beside the very people who once called her cursed. Now they called her sister. Soul took down 3 soldiers with brutal precision. One tried to sneak behind him. Hope shot him clean through the leg. "You said stay behind," she shouted. "I changed my mind," Soul growled. "Stay alive instead." They fought back to back, like they'd trained for it their whole lives. Hope's heart raced. Not from fear, but from something stronger, belonging. But then, he got hit. A blast tore through the metal wall and knocked Soul off his feet. His shoulder bled. His weapon flew from his hand. A retriever charged at him with an electric blade. Hope screamed, ran toward him, no hesitation, and threw herself between them. She didn't care if she died, but the blade never touched her. A young alien boy from the camp, barely 12, jumped in with a steel pipe and struck the attacker from behind. Then 2 more defenders rushed in and dragged the retriever down. Soul coughed. Trying to sit up. Hope knelt beside him. "You're bleeding." "So are you," he replied. "Don't die," she said, her hands trembling. He looked into her eyes. "Not today." By sunset, the ground was littered with enemy gear. They had won again. Hope helped Soul to a cot. She wrapped his shoulder with cloth. Her hands were gentle, careful, familiar. He chuckled through the pain. "Didn't know you learned med patching." "I watch everything you do," she replied softly. "You taught me more than you know." He grew quiet, then asked, "Why did you shield me back there?" She smiled, tears in her eyes. "Because before I was royalty, before I was free, I was yours." That night, no one called her a princess. They just called her family, and Salsgard, tired, half-broken, sat beside her, proud, because for him, she wasn't just someone he rescued. She was someone he would always protect, like she was his own. The fires of battle had died. The dust had settled over the camp. The retriever ships were gone, wrecked, burned, or fled. No more threats, no more orders, no more chains. Just silence. And in that silence stood the girl once locked in a cage, now standing at the center of a growing circle of free people. Hope looked over the horizon where the smoke faded into golden light. Her body still ached. Her arm was wrapped. A cut across her cheek stung. But she stood straight, not because someone told her to, but because now she wanted to. Behind her, people gathered. Old, young, alien, human. All of them had once known what it meant to be owned. Now they waited to hear from the one who reminded them what it meant to be free. Hope stepped onto the old auction platform, the same place she had once been caged like an animal. Now, no chains touched her skin. No price tag marked her life. She spoke softly, but her voice carried across the camp like wind. "This was where I waited to be bought." Eyes watched her, wide and still. "They left me here. Said I was useless, silent, worthless." She paused. Her hands trembled, but she didn't stop. But then someone said 4 words I had never heard before. She looked to Soul, who leaned on a cane nearby, bruised but standing. "I'll take her." She took a deep breath, and he didn't mean take to use. He meant take responsibility. He gave me food, but also space. He gave me kindness, but also truth. And he never asked for anything in return. She looked out at the people. "I was born into a bloodline I never knew, a royal mark I never earned. But I've learned something more important." She placed a hand on her chest. "I choose what my name means now." She stepped down from the platform and walked through the camp. She passed cages that had been ripped apart, burnt. No one used them anymore. She passed the post where her ID code had once been scanned. Now it was broken. Finally, she stopped in front of Soul. Everyone waited. He looked at her and gave a gentle smile. "You've become something powerful." She nodded. "Because I saw it in you first." Then she said the words no one expected. "I don't want a throne." He raised an eyebrow. "I want to build homes. For people who were told they didn't matter." Soul looked around. The people nodded, some with tears in their eyes. Hope smiled. "And if they need a leader, I'll be that too. Not because I was born into it." She turned back to Soul. "But because someone once gave me a choice." Later that night, as stars painted the sky above, she sat beside Soul at the fire. "Do you ever think of leaving?" She asked. "I did," he said. "But not anymore." "Why?" "Because wherever you are, that's the place worth staying." The next morning, a merchant ship landed nearby. Not a slaver, not a retriever, just a trader delivering tools and medicine. When he saw her, he bowed. "Princess," he said. She gently touched his arm and smiled. "I'm not your princess," she said. "I'm just Hope." He looked confused. She added, "And I don't answer to bloodlines or law books." Then she pointed to Soul. If you must know who I follow, it's him. Not as my master, not as my owner. She turned to the crowd, but as the first one who showed me what it means to be human. Because now, she chose her path. She chose her people. And if she had to name someone she trusted with her life, she would say, without fear or shame, I call him mine. Not because he bought her, but because he set her free.